Swakarmana tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Then he attains siddhi, spiritual perfection. Manavaha, the human. Krishna doesn't say who in particular. He doesn't say the educated man, the civilized man, the Brahmana alone or the Kshatriya alone. He doesn't say that. He says Manavaha, any human, whoever it may be. Siddhim Vindadi, he is using a past tense. Even now it is occurring. The knowledge is available, the instruction also is available, the scriptures are available. So anybody can understand the message, get the message and put it into practice, and he will attain perfection. Yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Sri Krishna doesn't stop there. In Bhagavad Gita, he is almost to conclude his narration or his dialogue. And he comes to verse number 61 from 46. 61. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam. Conclusion. What does he say? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. Arjuna, I very well remember. You must also be remembering. What did you do? Karpanya dosho bahata swabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yachryasyad nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Did you not do this? I remember it. I am very conscious of it. My whole instruction followed this kind of a surrender and acceptance from your side. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I have sought refuge under you. This is the way you surrendered before me, prostrated before me. Now I have to tell you, in the second chapter I already said, Buddhau Sharamanvicha. In the same way as you are seeking refuge under me, you should seek refuge under Samatva Buddhi. That is in your own intelligence, inside your body. Here I am saying something different, perfecting the whole statement. We are about to conclude the dialogue. Ishvaraha, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, Ishvaraha. Sarva bhutanam hriddeshe tishtadi, hey Arjuna. He is seated in the heart of all creatures, all beings. Let there be no mistake. No mistake. Always I find people, they will say, there is a God. Where is that? Where is he? Somewhere far away, distant. This should not be a reference by us. Whenever you refer to God, you say God, the Antaratma, the indweller. He is closest to you than the closest person that you can think of in your family or friend circle. Sarva bhutanam hriddeshe. There is one specific area where God is palpably and experientially present. Where is that? Hriddeshe. In your heart. In your heart. You need not be an intellectual giant to understand or approach God. It's enough if you recognize that there is a presence of God. There is the presence of God in my heart. Hriddeshe Arjuna tishtadi. He is seated there. He is not even standing. Any person who stands will easily walk off. If a person is sitting, you can understand he is supposed to be there, not get away and go. So tishtadi, he is seated there. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. He is the one who revolves everything in your system. The heart is beating because of him. The lungs are bellowing because of him. The blood is circulating because of him. The brain is functioning and evolving ideas because of him. The signals are sent and they are received all because of his presence. Brahmayan, just like a machine driver will be seated in the machine and he will drive the machine. A driver sits inside the car and the wheels are running and running. He doesn't run. In the same manner, God is seated in the heart of everyone and He is making every organ in the body function in its own manner respectively. In order to operate upon all the sensory organs, the brain, mind, etc., naturally the seater or the driver should be inside the body, not outside. So God is responsible for it. He directly does it. This job has not been entrusted by Him to anyone. No substitute. God Himself has to be there and He has to do it. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani. All the beings are propelled and impelled by Him. Yantrarudhani mayaya. How is He able to do it? By a supreme, inscrutable power. That is called Maya. The power of God is called Maya. The word Maya is not properly understood by many people. Maya is an inscrutable. It's a power we cannot define, describe, understand, split, analyze. No, we cannot. It is a power by virtue of which anything can be made, anything can be unmade, and whatever changes are necessary in whatever exists, that also can be made. This is that inscrutable power. With that power, He is seated there and He is also making everything revolve in the human personality. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata. You seek refuge under Him. Whom? Whom? Is it somebody far away? Even a millimeter away? No. He is somebody who is indwelling in your body. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata. Seek refuge under Him. What is that seeking refuge? Please listen to it carefully. Sarva bhavena. Are you listening to me? Can you grasp? Will you grasp? You can, but will you? I don't know. Sarva bhavena. In the initial stages, what did He say? Take flowers, fruit, leaf, water, etc., and offer it, besmearing it with devotion. The materials were offered, but smeared with devotion. In the second part, whatever activities, secular or non-secular you are doing, make all of them an offer. Here, He has gone away from that level. No outer relevance at all. No relevance to either the body or bodily actions or materials of a gross nature. He says, Sarva Bhavena Bharata. My dear Bharata, seek refuge under the Lord who dwells in your own heart. By what? What can reach your heart? Can any external material be pushed into the body so that it can go into the heart and the brain? Certainly not. The food we eat, it goes to the stomach. It is converted into blood. Part of it is thrown away. So what is it that can enter the heart? Only the things of the mind and heart. Bhava, the attitude, the emotion, the fondness for the Lord, consideration for Him, the feeling of adoration that we have in our mind, our estimation, our evaluation, our sense of proximity, the extent of confidence we feel on God. Hanuman thought of Sri Rama so powerfully, so wholesomely, that he took a leap over and reached Lanka. See, that attitudinal point, that is the most important. Sarva bhavena bharata. Our mind, you should not think that I should offer to God only the good things of my heart. What will you do with the bad things? You will shower them on the people around, and all of them will be offended. Some will start crying, they will be pained. So whatever arises from your mind, good, bad or indifferent, everything should be offered to God. without any reservation. Then the mind will become free, clean and pure. Never keep anything. You have a feeling the best of things alone will be offered to God. Okay, physically offer good milk, good fruits, not rotten one. Very good flour, very good. Mentally, that distinction should not be there. Anything that comes from your mind, offer it. You can scold God. You can speak ill of Him. You can get angry with Him. You can be dejected. You can be competitive if you want. Like Paundraga Vasudeva of Srimad Bhagavatam. The point is, in your emotion, God must be the other party. All your emotions should be directed towards Him. Yatha vairānubandhena. You can foster an attitude of enmity towards the Lord. This is what Shishupala had towards Krishna. And what happened? Krishna finally cut off his head. When he cut off his head, everybody was looking on. In the Rajasuya Yaga, a brilliance arose from the dead body and it started traveling through the sky air and came and merged with Krishna's personality. Open merger of one who hated Krishna, who wanted to kill Krishna, who started scolding him, rebuking him, abusing him in an open assembly. You have all selected this Krishna for Agra Puja in Rajasuya Yaga. Who is this Krishna? He has no address. He is a cowherd boy. He doesn't have a royal pedigree. Nothing. No education. He was not given any Vedic insignia. Such a useless fellow you have selected. He is a disgrace to the entire assembly, he said. Openly he started saying. That was how the whole thing occurred. Quoting this, he says, Yudhishthira is wondering. Till then he was scolding Krishna. He must have had white leprosy in his tongue. Instead of that, he has an open merger, which lofty devotees do not have. The celebrated Brahmins are unable to have this kind of an open merger. What is the secret? Then he was explaining. Yatha vairānubandhena martyas tanmayatam yad na tatha bhakti yogena iti me nishchitamatihi. How fast, how swiftly you can have fruition and fulfillment in bhakti with vaira bhava. You will not be able to achieve the same speed, fastness and fruition with bhakti. Vaira is very much more powerful. Normally bhakti is very soft, gentle. It makes you snigdha, soft. Vaira is always So it's a very powerful devotion, powerful emotion. So the result is faster, he says. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam. When you start seeking refuge under God in your own heart, through all the bhavas, emotions, attitudes of your mind, without making any distinction or reservation, then tat prasadat, by virtue of His blessing, he will become most happy. He has recognized my presence in his heart. Very good. Everybody keeps me at a distance, keeps me in a puja room, locks me up, and I can be available only when they open the door. Here he is identifying him, identifying me in his own heart. So God is very happy. Tat prasadat param shantim. You will get the supreme beatitude, quietude. Sthanam prapsyasi shashwadam. And a perpetual, a permanent, an undecaying, unassailable, untormented abode you will get. Actually, he uses the word prapsyasi shashwadam. You will attain. It is for Arjuna. You will attain this. Seek refuge under the Lord who is in your heart. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam. Let us also have something from Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Because this is a point I would like you to be very firm and clear about. This is a conversation between Kabila and Devahudi. Devahudi is Kabila's mother. Kabila is generally described as Kabila Vasudeva. Just like Krishna, he was also a very unique divine, you can say, incarnation in the normal devotional language. Devahudi told her husband, who was a very ascetic person, after having lived romantically with him for some time, the husband said, I have fulfilled all your needs and prayers, I am going back to my solitude and penance. Then Devahudi said, my dear Lord, whatever it may be, I am associated with you and I have my special relationship as your consort. There may be many people who may worship you, regard you in different ways, but mine is one of relationship. I am your consort. You are going away. If you go away, leaving me, what shall I do with my daughters? So I have a special prayer before you. What is that? Grant me a son who will be available to look after his sisters and get them married. But beyond that, who will be able to instruct me in the path of self-realization and the supreme glory, crowning fulfillment of human life. I want you to understand the meaning and relevance of such a conversation. It is Srimad Bhagavatam that records it. The same Vedavyasa who has authored the Vedas that we have before us, Mahabharatam that we have, and then Srimad Bhagavatam. So what should be the relevance of such a statement? The married life of all of you must have a divine dimension and a purpose. It is not that you have children as animals have. The human children should be specifically sought, wished for, and designed in the minds of the couple. You must decide what kind of a child you should have. Here is a wife asking a sagely husband, give me a child who will instruct me on the path of virtue and spiritual glory, she says. Her husband decided, okay, I will postpone my departure. And he lived for some more time, and the wife became pregnant, and Kabila was born. This Kabila, if the father was a sage and a saint and ascetic, Kabila became ascetic, squared and cubed. So he lived for some time and got the sisters married. Thereafter, he said, I am going away. Then the mother asked the son, instruct me on the path of purity and enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment. Then Kabila started speaking, looking at the mother. My dear souls, can you not also have a child like this? And can you not also be a mother like Devahudi? Whenever I address a mass of people, I always tell them, I would like to have a few Sitas from amongst you, a few Draupadis also from amongst you. Why these characters are presented before us? They are constant creations. They are supposed to be with us every time as a model, a role model, as an example, as a beacon light. So many people are having so many children. If I ask you, who is your grandmother's mother or grandfather's father, will you be able to answer me? No. We are all remaining human. Whereas Valmiki has given us a Sri Ramachandra Mahaprabhu who constantly lives generation after generation with us. Valmiki's pen has gifted Sri Rama. There must have been a number of other princes also. But we don't know about them. But we only know about Ramachandra Mahaprabhu. Similarly, we only know of Sita and Draupadi, not other people. Because Mahabharatam has put them into an epic dimension to be an everlasting influence in us. That is the idea. So Kabila started speaking. This dialogue appearing in the third skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very popular. It has a lot of devotional and equally philosophical and spiritual touch. In a nutshell, in a kernel form, Kapila epitomizes the whole philosophy in a very practical manner. And there are some stunning revelations and exhortations also there. I would like all of you to know a little about it, at least. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma avasthitas sada tam avajñāya mam martyaha kurute archa vidambanam. Oh, how Vedavyasa has put these expressions, I am wondering. You know, our country is noted for idol worship. Devotion is a very strong undercurrent. Bhagavata uru vikramangri shakha nakhamani chandrigaya nirastatabe hridi kathamupaseedatam punassa prabhavati chandra ivoditoorkatapaha ivoditerkatapaha. Bhagavata uru vikramangri shakha nakhamani chandrigaya nirastatabe hridi kathamupaseedatam punah sa prabhavati chandra ivodite arkatapaha. See, in this particular verse, Hari is bringing about a very forceful argument. It has got a great purpose and relevance, provided you can go into the meaning of it. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a very scholarly text. I think in the 18,000 verses which it embodies, at least 1 lakh of words should be there. What do you think of the majesty of the text? When I say devotion is very easy to practice, and it is also very effortless to get fulfilled in devotion, you should not dismiss it as an ordinary proposition. Certainly not. It is absolutely true. See how Hari argues the case. Bhagavata uruvikramangri shakhanakhamani chandrikaya nirastatabe. Here is a word which has kept me thinking for quite some time. Uruvikramangri shakhanakhamani chandrikaya. It is one word. I was wondering, what is this? Uruvikrama ankrishakha nakhamani chandrikaya. Ankrishakha nakhamani. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? I asked our Swamini Ma Gurupriyaji. She has got a book with a Bengali meaning and translation. So I asked her, what is the meaning of this? Try to find it out. She went through it and we could not get a reasonable meaning structure. I had to think and think for quite some time. The Bengali book that Ma has, it has the Sridhariya Bhashya also. Everything written in Bengali. So I consulted that book. I wanted her to go through it and let me know. I did not get the information I wanted. I had to think and finally get to know what it contains. It runs in this manner. Bhagavataha uruvikramankri shakhanakhamani chandrikaya nirastatape. Devotees generally think always of the feet of the Lord. They prostrate before the feet. They keep the feet in their imagination, in their heart and the mind. So the feet. It is something extremely dear and close to the devotee, devotional heart. And that feet is described here as what? Uru vikramankri shakhanakhamani chandrikaya. You know, the feet has prominently 5 plus 5, 10 toes. And in the toes you will find small round nails. And in good feet and good toes, the nail will be very beautifully colored, generally bright, let us say somewhat white in color. And if all of them are kept clean, removing dirt, etc., they will be like shining moon. That is what they say. Uruvikrama. Uruvikrama means God who has got a great gate, a great body to contain the whole universe.